Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the huddle. This is the daily huddle on Tuesdays where we're going to talk about relationships and communication. And we have a guest today, Lori Polep, and we are going to talk about why creating the right relationships is critical for business growth and profitability. And I am very interested to hear what Lori has to say on this because I know she's been a pretty amazing businesswoman. So, Tara, could you introduce Lori for us?
Absolutely. We're so happy that you're finally here, Lori.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I do want to tell y'all just a little bit about Lori's background, and then we're going to dig into her theory and why she has proven it to be true. Lori graduated back in 1978 from Boston University, and she went to work for IBM. Well, in about a 2-year span, she realized the power and the future of technology, and she left and returned to her family's company. So she applied her knowledge and insight to drive significant growth. But this growth turned into the sale of that company, and the new owners effectively drove the company almost into non-existence. And so in 1986, Lori and her family started from scratch, building the business once again. Lori was able to leverage her skills and propel this business into a remarkable success. During this time, as she rose as a leader in this company, she earned her master's degree in business management. She became vice president and then chief information officer of this company. During Lori's leadership, by the time we hit 2019, the sales of her company were at a meager $1.3 billion. That is badass. Today, Lori is a Wall Street Journal bestselling author and a strategic advisor, and we are delighted that she is here on the Daily Huddle. Welcome, Lori.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much. I do want to dig a little bit more into the background before we talk about our topic, because you believe, and this is so refreshing, that it is the right relationships that are crucial to business growth. So you were not born knowing this. Take us a little bit into the background and how this came to be.
Well, I do like to say that everything I learned about business, I learned at the dinner table.
Okay.
I grew up in a family that discussed business all the time. I would hear my parents talking about business. Um, we there were so many conversations. One was about your employees. We'd have an employee, I hear my parents talking about this employee, and they would say, wow, he can do this job. We just have to get him the training for it. And that is what I learned right there. I heard it often. And I hear him talking about customers and, the needs for growth, adding new products. This is all discussions at the dinner table. And I didn't even know what I was learning just sitting there until I really got into business. Even when I worked at IBM, my training came through. I mean, my education from my parents came through. Um, I needed to do a project for a vice president of IBM, and they asked to look at one field in this massive, massive database. And I thought to myself, he's going to call me back again to look at another field. So I wrote an interactive program.
Mm-hmm.
So that basically is listening to what the user, we call people who write programs for users because they're using the program. Um, what does he really need? How can I make things better for this person so that it doesn't have to come back to me? So I don't have to reprogram something. And that's what I did. And he loved it. I mean, it was like,
So
he
I
was,
think you're making a really fascinating point here. It seems like early on in your career, you saw that technology was the future and you were really excited about technology. But what you didn't see it as, which I think some do, is how to minimize your workforce. What I'm hearing is you use technology to serve your people.
absolutely. And technology is a service. Okay. When you when your technology works well, your business can grow. All right. Your people are happier because they don't have to put in as much time.
Mhm.
All right. What was important through my career was listening to people's needs and looking and seeing how can we solve these problems? How can I make it easier for them? And that is key in technology and key in like I said, key in a business. You're in technology, your customers are the people using the software.
Mhm.
Now, one thing that when I came back from the family business that I did that made us when I came back into the business full time after IBM was 78 million in sales. And I brought in technology for you see people all the time with handheld units in stores. That's normal. Back then, not many people were doing it. And that's what took us up to a new level because we implemented that.
Okay. I
Can I
want
ask
to
let me ask a
go ahead.
question about this. It's so fascinating. I've been through a couple of technology launches, and a couple of them have been successful, and a couple of them have not. Where you get to the other side, you're starting to implement a new technology, and it's not doing what you thought, or it's creating more work for people. What advice would you give to somebody who really does want to use technology to their benefit? Maybe isn't a techie, doesn't know has good intentions, but like what's the process? Because it's not just like go find a technology, implement it, and you're good.
Well, this could be a whole discussion. This
Yeah.
could take a
Or
whole
maybe just a
whole
snippet
30
or a high
minutes.
level if possible.
Um, First of all, and I explain this in my book, People Process Profit, when I look at software, I would bring in a team, any portion of the business that was affected, any company, any part of the company, I'd bring them in. I'd have them look at the software
Mhm,
with me.
mhm,
And we'd talk about the business needs. And then we'd see how well this would serve us. I'm not going to make that decision.
mhm.
Okay. It's not me. I have to listen to the people doing the work. How is this going to affect them? Will they get what they need? Um, and of course, testing, testing, testing.
Well, and I'm guessing that gets you more buy-in too, because of the relationships you're building along the way.
Absolutely. They own the outcome. Okay.
Fascinating.
That is critical. When they're part of the process, they own the outcome. And that's what makes a project successful. Um, Now, I have implemented so many systems in the years, and everyone was successful because of that methodology.
Well, it
Can
sounds
you
like a
take us?
theme for, sorry, go ahead, Tara.
I want to go back before we jump to success. I want to go back to the years when you were building this from scratch the second time, because I want to know about the morale of the people. Um,
We were so excited. Okay. Everybody was so excited to be back in business, to be working with the family again. I mean, we were a team. We really were a family business, and our employees were part of the family.
mm,
It was it's not just the employees, the customers, to get back into this type of business, which is, big base in tobacco and cigarettes, you have to be able to get what they call cigarette bonds. And they had to know that you had customers coming back in order just to get the bond. We had letters from our biggest customers saying they're coming back to us. And the why is we treated them well. We listened to what their needs were. And I think that is critical. Your customers are the ones that help you grow. Your customers drive you. Um, it's this symbiotic relationship where they have they've seen something that they think would do well in their store. They ask us to bring it in, or we see something that we think will help grow their sales. And and then we show it to them. So we, over the years, built a trust with our customers that helped us to get back into business. And everybody was happy. But as to employees, I loved walking through that business. I loved seeing the people enjoying their work. And all these people were with us, you know, 30, 40 years. It really is amazing. And you had the people grow who, like, there was one man who was a truck driver, but he was going to school for accounting. Well, we ended up moving him into the accounting department. These are things that happened all through the company,
Yeah, it's
you know.
amazing. You talk about showing people that you care, and those are easy words to say, but you had a way of really, I would say, proving to your people that you cared. And part of that came from, and these are your words, so I want you to elaborate on this, is respecting employees at all levels. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, first of all, everyone in a business has value. Everyone, down from the janitor, or let's say from the janitor up to whomever, the CEO. And everyone should be asked about their opinion if something's happening. I'm not, okay, let's say the janitor guy I loved. There was a guy who worked for us, and I don't know, something was happening, and if we had some people coming in, he made sure that place was shining. Okay. You can, your frontline employees are critical to the business.
Catherine, someone.
Um, I had opportunities to bring people from, let's say, key punch operators also to one woman in particular. Respect for others, recognizing and developing talent was a big part of what I did
Mhm.
and what my family did.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we had people who showed promise, which you could tell by them asking questions and uh, wanting to do more work and being willing just to do more anytime you ask them to do something, we would tap them for for promotions, to doing more work, doing something different, something they never had the ability, thought they had the ability for, but then you would train them.
Mm.
Now, back to respect for others, that's just something that when you are meeting with vendors, when you're meeting with customers, when you're having meetings with employees, listen to them. Listening is a skill that not everybody has. A lot of people listen to respond. You need to listen to hear what they're saying, to hear how they feel like something can improve the business,
Mhm.
to hear, oh, I have a problem with such and such. When actually, there are people who came to my office with personal problems, and there are people who came to my office with business problems. The door was always open. Same thing for my father, my brother, all the way through this business. And listening is a key part of respect for others. You'll hear active listening, and that's listening and being able to uh, give feedback to the person. Here's how I understand what you're saying. And what's great about that is if you don't really understand it, they will tell you. They'll tell you, no, that's not really what I meant. And here is what I think needs to happen. Now, anybody could talk to me. I'd be solving problems in the warehouse and other areas of the business all the time.
Don't you
It
think that your investment into these people made them want to perform not only to keep their job and to grow, but because they respected you in return?
absolutely, absolutely. When you recognize people for their knowledge, when you help them grow, you have someone that, first of all, you build a sustainable business because you have someone in place to grow. And when you do this right, you have someone right behind them that can grow into their job, which is what you want. You're positioned for success. If you don't do that, you are not positioned for, you don't want to have to say, oh, I got to train this person now in order to get this business. You want someone who you can say, we can get this business and put this person in place to run it.
Mhm. What if
Okay.
you come across people who weren't motivated? Did you take it upon yourself to motivate them, or were there times when you saw that you couldn't do that?
Well, some people are really good at their job, and that's where they want to be. But you can, if you see the possibility of growth, you talk to them, but you can't push somebody into
Mhm.
growth. They have to want it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I had someone when I was implementing the handheld units. Uh, my father said to me, "Well, teach it to Don. It's not his real name. Because if Don can learn it, anybody can." Well, guess what? Don was close to retirement. He could hardly see, even though in those days the machines were so big, like a brick. That's what my
Mhm.
salesman called it, a brick. That the numbers were giant. But anyhow, I took him on the road a few times, and he just couldn't get it. And I went into my father and I said, "Dad, Don's never going to learn it. He doesn't want to,
Mm.
you know. He really didn't want to. And didn't want to learn something new. And he was still a good salesman, but not the right person. So I said, give me your best salesperson. Okay. And but the best salesperson, I went on the road with him. He picked it up quickly. And then I went through and trained quite a few other salespeople
Mhm.
and the sales manager. And they were all excited about it. So they would
They
tell
were
the
all over it.
yeah,
Yeah.
they'd tell the other salespeople how much better and easier their jobs were. Okay, you have someone that's where you've heard of train the trainer.
Mhm.
Well, that wasn't a name for it back then, but that's what I was doing because I then started having salespeople training other salespeople, and they're excited about it, and they know the business, and the trust is there too.
Mm.
Because they are salespeople. It's just I used that through my whole career, and that was like I think 1981 or 82. I did that. You know,
Yeah.
and
Um,
go
so
ahead.
I want to shift before we run out of time because you really have three categories of why solid trusting relationships are important. And so we've talked about employees, and um, we've talked just a little bit about two other categories. And one is your vendors, which I think is really interesting. So talk to us about that because the vendors, to me, I mean, you're their customer. Why are you trying to build a solid relationship with them?
Well, when you have a great relationship with the vendor, they bring you products that you can sell to your customers, and they back the products. They'll even ride on the road with the salespeople. We also have trade shows where they show their products
Mhm.
and make deals that are beneficial for the customers, like buy 8 boxes of this brand and get two boxes of something else, thereby increasing the profitability to that customer. But they have food service programs such as pizza, hot dog programs, all these things that years ago, convenience stores didn't have that. You'd walk in, get your candy, tobacco, whatever. And then coffee came on, and then pastries. But what we have is a great relationship where we have vendors that have grown with us,
Mhm.
and our customers have grown, and we have grown because this whole relationship is a three-tiered relationship.
Right. That's what I love is that you take, it seems like to me, Lori, that you're taking the same mentality of respect and listening and connection to your customers, your vendors, and your employees. And I think that is
Absolutely.
spectacular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to. This
Mhm.
is what makes a great business. There's no business without any of those three.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I also, we also have multiple types of vendors. You have your vendors that sell you products. You have your vendors that sell you technology. You have your vendors that sell you supplies that are internal use to your business.
Yeah.
And all those require the same type of relationships.
I think that this is a powerful message for any leader or aspiring leader because I don't know about y'all, but I have seen so many people in business just dote on their customers, take such good care of them, want to entertain them. They just come up to life. And then when they're with their employees, they become completely the opposite, just like a tyrant. And I've seen that over the years. And it sounds like to me what you're telling leaders to do is be the same, Lori, with the janitor, with the vendor, with the employee, the customer. Um, Give us a few examples of how you initially learned this, because I think you said that your dad modeled this. So tell us one of those stories.
Literally. Okay, just even walking through the warehouse, I'd see how he would treat everyone the same. The same smile, the same how are you, what's happening. Um, and he did say, no matter what, every job is critical, every person is critical to the business, and it is.
Yeah.
It
And your
is.
dad not only invested his time and his kindness, but he made some other investments, didn't he? When people were really finding themselves in a bad situation.
Yeah, yeah. One time this woman came to me and she worked for me. She was a key punch operator so many years ago. She said, I can't pay my heating bill. I said, well, they're going to shut it off. Back then, there's no protections. So I went to my father and told him about it, and he just gave her the money. And, it happened often. Things like that happened often.
Mm. I just
Um,
can't even imagine. I know that, I mean, that can't be a business model, but that one act of kindness, I mean, I bet that she became just more loyal for life.
Absolutely.
That proved, I mean, to listen to somebody shows that you care, but to invest your time and your actually your own money into one of your employees, I would think probably was a huge message to anybody she was willing to share it with.
Yeah, I'm curious if she did share it.
Yeah,
Uh, she might not have, because it's also uncomfortable to talk about when you have financial problems.
yeah,
But there were other things. There was like this woman who worked for my mother. Our other company, Pacehaver Catalog Showrooms. My mother's a jewelry buyer, and there's a woman there who, was helping her with things, such as back then you were literally writing the pricing tags, you know. Um,
wow,
and then when that company closed, she came to work for J. Polep. I think she started as an order taker, in the department. Then she worked her way up and she ended up in HR, and then she became an HR manager. And she sat in my office one day. She said, I can't believe where I am today. I never expected I'd be making this kind of money. Yeah, I never expected I'd be working in this type of job. But that's what we want. I could walk through that warehouse and through the offices and see people who started as order selectors,
Mm,
or order takers who ended up as vice presidents, directors, and all managers of the company, all walks of life in the company. And here's what you get when you do that. You get someone who literally knows that company from the ground up.
yeah, what a great point.
Yeah.
That is
They've been
phenomenal.
there, they've seen it all.
I want you to, I'm gonna ask if we have any questions. If y'all put your hands up if you'd like to ask Lori a question before we run out of time. But tell us a little bit about what inspired you to write your book and what you're doing now.
Well, one of the things is I saw our success and I realized if I didn't have the right foundation, we wouldn't be able to bring that company back.
Mm-mm.
Okay. My book, I wrote my book so people could have a foundation. And people in business who are already operating can take little portions of that book and improve their business.
Mm.
It's written that way. There's key takeaways at the end of each chapter.
Yeah, it's an easy read too. I mean, you just simplify things. You don't try to come in sounding like you've got 14 degrees and having, it's very straightforward and it's full of stories, which I love. Um, yeah. So what would you say is the top, let's just say top two takeaways from that book?
Treat your people with respect.
Okay.
And that business happens with relationships. And keep those relationships solid, build those relationships.
Mm. Sounds like to me that's the greatest investment we could make is into our people.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. Catherine, do you have a last question for Lori before we close out?
I'm just soaking it in, and I guess I do get curious about when you do have to let people go. Is there any, they're just not a fit, or, is there any guidance you've got there?
There will always be people who won't be a fit. And you have to make that decision to keep your company moving and, let them go. That's all there is to it. I mean, I did have someone work for me. I love the guy as a person, but he still needed to learn a lot about programming. And one day I said to him, this was your last mistake. And that was the kind way of letting him go because then
Mm.
he went and he had a new job within 2 weeks. But I didn't want to just lay him off or let him go. I wanted him to land okay,
Oh,
you know. And there
yeah.
were some people I just let go because they had to be let go. In a technology firm, when you do in technology, a lot of times you don't want people near the computer after you let them go.
Yeah.
So I would have to let them go, whether they're laid off or
Yeah, like the banking world. It's like
yeah, you just walk them
on the
out.
way out the door.
You
Yeah,
walk them out.
yeah,
It sounds like to me that you learned that just because you want to build trust with somebody does not mean that everybody is trustworthy. At the end of the day, I don't think we don't have much control over that, do we?
No, no. So you want someone who comes to the business with integrity.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for being with us.
yeah.
Your success and what you're able to do for companies now is really, really encouraging. And I want to thank you too for focusing on people because they are the ones that build the profits And they're the ones
Absolutely.
that can keep things strong when things seem difficult. So we thank you so much. I hope you'll come back. We love having you here. And
Thank you.
I'm grateful for our friendship. So
Me too.
um I would like
Thank
to
you for
close
having
us
me
out.
on.
Pardon me?
Sorry, what were you going to say?
I just said I'm grateful for our friendship. Y'all, I met Lori less than a year ago, and we've just become fast friends. And next time you come on, I want you to share your knowledge of wine, which will blow
Oh, okay.
y'all's
I'm
mind.
happy to do that. I
I
could
think
talk
that would
about
be fun.
wine anytime.
We'll do that. We'll do that. We'll have a wine tasting at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Sounds good. I call that Breakfast of Champions.
I love it. I love it. Well, we
Good.
are going to close out as we always do with our tenets, and I'm going to start with love. I have learned that love is the most powerful emotion. It has the power to drive out shame, to drive out fear, to drive out guilt. So remember to tap into love. And with that, you're able to give, to be generous, not just with your finances, but with your time, with your spirit. Open your heart. And don't take life too seriously. As always, find time to laugh. Throw that head back, let those endorphins fly. Take care of your body. That means to get your sleep. Do all you can to get 7, 8 hours of sleep. Fill your body with lots of water, lots of plants, and make sure that you're not sitting on that booty all day long. Get up and move that body. We thank you all for being here on the Daily Huddle, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.